G'day and welcome back for more Survival Impossible. I'm going to need to take the rock lobster back to the base since I'm out of interior plate and steel plate, but I should offload what's on board. Before I do that though, I'd like to talk through a couple of cool ideas that were suggested in the comments, the main one being turn this into a sort of CD bar / truck stop, Steve's hole in the wall. I really quite like that idea. I don't think I'm going to do that immediately though. I don't want to spend heaps of time building this when I've got a lot of road to build. What I was thinking of doing instead was build the road, and whenever I feel like I really just don't want to keep drilling, depending on how long it takes me, but I suspect it's going to take a couple of weeks at least to get this road done. But whenever I want kind of a bit of a break from the drilling, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do some more work on this. So this will be sort of a little project to work on over the time that the road gets built. So hopefully by the time it's done, I have Steve's hole in the wall, and also I have some sort of gate set up in front of the entry here. Maybe just a simple boom gate with like a toll booth on one side, which was one of the suggestions. Perhaps making use of the Capac decoys for that toll booth. Something like that. I think it could be quite fun just to have a little bit more of an interest on the entryway here, and any further outposts I build along the way will be kept ultra minimalistic. So they'll be pretty much just a power source and a turret. Yeah, really not going to go anything fancy for them. Ah, why am I hurting? Oxygen. Ah, get back in the truck. Ow. Oof. We're back to this again, huh? Me injuring myself during the intro when I've got my HUD hidden. Delightful. There were quite a few suggestions around having an assembler and a refinery here and making use of the stone that I'm destroying with the right-click mining. There are a few reasons why I'm not going to take advantage of them, and none of them necessarily make sense in terms of optimizing my efficiency in a space engineer's kind of way. But when I've got the launch air base and I've got all those materials down at the main base, I don't want this to be another full main base. I want this to be an outpost. It's only meant to be an emergency sort of thing. It's not meant to be a full replacement for the base. And as soon as I put an assembler and a refinery on it, that's kind of what it becomes. Something that I've learned from Capac, which sounds like a really bizarre phrase to come out of my mouth, but something I've learned from Capac, which I think I'd already kind of done, but never really thought about explicitly, is that building single-purpose builds is more fun. Making every build able to do everything means that you don't need any except for the one that you just made. And I'd like to keep my stuff useful for a little bit longer. At least have the idea of it be useful. Because of course it won't be useful if I crash it. Thinking of the number of vehicles that I've crashed this year. But that's sort of the idea. I want to make sure that I'm not replacing something with something else. Now, down at the hydrogen base, it made a lot of sense, given how far away it is, for it to be a secondary full base. To have an assembler, to have a refinery, because it needs to have those things because it's just too far away. This is within almost line of sight of the main base, so to replace the main base from here, just to me seems a little bit, I don't know, it feels kind of redundant and feels like I'm taking away some of my own potential fun by doing so. Maybe I'll just take the stuff from the cockpit, actually. And I'll put the food and water into this little base before I head back. So yeah, I'm not going to add a refinery and assembler here. Instead, I'm going to use the fact that I have to travel so far as a potential reason to build my cargo hauler sooner, rather than using the rock lobster the whole time. But at least until I've gotten a fair bit further, this seems like the right vehicle to use, because it is still pretty efficient at carrying stuff. And away I go. Ooh, should I grab some? Maybe I should grab some cobalt. That's probably not a bad idea. I'll grab some cobalt as I go. There you go, that'll do. How much cobalt did I actually end up grabbing? Yeah, 16,000. It's something. I think it was worth getting that while I'm up here. And taking a little bit back each time. Sort of gives me an extra bit of justification for using the rock lobster instead of building a cargo hauler straight away. I'm going to try and mark a way down. So I've marked Steve's hole in the wall. We'll see how I fare. This would be a lot easier in full daylight, but it is what it is. Mark a waypoint, I guess. WP, and then I can just keep pressing that as I go. These GPS waypoints I will eventually replace with lights. Oh, actually, that reminds me. The other thing that people were talking about a lot in the comments was what I'm going to do about the lights in the tunnel, because I asked you guys for your opinions on whether I should feel okay about cheesing those. And I think I've come to the conclusion that I don't feel okay about cheesing the lights in the tunnel. I won't be using cheesy power methods. Instead, an idea that I thought was pretty cool, again another suggestion, was to instead use, well, small grid stuff using the magnetic locks and just have a sort of a light placing vehicle that places them along the tunnel sections, and then when those batteries run out of power, I can just use that same vehicle to place new ones. Which I think could be a pretty cool way of getting the lights done in the tunnel and replacing them when they run out. I'm going totally the wrong way. I don't actually know where I am right now. I'm somewhere in the valley, but other than that, I'm quite lost. Yay! Oh, that's not ideal! Oof. But I made it back. Yeah. Oh. Ran into... Oh, the liftsy power's dead. Dang it. It's going to be annoying later. At some point I'm going to have to investigate that Reaver Berserker. It'll be after the magnesium mine is established though. So even though it's on the ground, the fact that it's still broadcasting means it's still live. And I have learned my lesson to not treat a Reaver as dead until it's completely gone. Learned that lesson in Survival Unlikely when I lost a ship to a torpedo that hit me in the face. And I want to see this thing crash into the ground. Oh! What the?
Is everything alright over there?
No! So I've loaded up with 1500 steel plate, 1000 interior plate, 500 construction components, a bunch of small steel tubes, motors, and girders. I think that's mostly what I'm going to need a lot of. I'm obviously going to need a lot more steel plate than what I'm bringing back now, but that's part of the fun. Making myself feel like I need some better vehicles for logistics. That's kind of been the whole drive this series, is make things hard enough, make it take long enough, make it be tedious enough, and I will come up with a better solution to doing something, even within my own really bizarre self-restrictions that I put in place. Waypoint 5, up this way. Offload as much as I can. Better to drive relatively light. One of the reasons I was rocking back and forth so much when using the rock lobster last time was that it's so heavy, I have to have the wheels at full power, so the acceleration is massive. Even if the top speed were low, I'd still have the same rocking back and forth issue. And hopefully by making it lighter with offloading stuff into here, that problem will be somewhat dealt with. Oh no, I just realized something. I did not turn the auto-crafting thing back on at the main base. I need to turn that back on. I keep turning it off just because every time I block this vehicle, it seems to still steal stuff from me. So I've just been turning the programmable block off and turning it back on when I leave, except I forgot to, which I should be able to rectify from here. If I increase the range on this antenna, just temporarily. Let's go Shift K, terminal. Nope, that's the North Mountain antenna. Don't want that one. It's the Bulldog, so no, that's Launch Air Base. Which one is it? Is it that one? Am I only two It must be. Yep, here we go. On. And now you can go back down to tiny range. Man, I love when stuff like that actually works. Right. I believe we've got a road to build, and we have a lot of road to build. I was thinking what I'd do while I'm waiting for the sun to come up. I will try and drill a little bit further along. And then once the sun's up, I'll grab this platform 2 and scout out where I think the bridges should go. And since I'm going to do that, and I've just remembered it now, I'm going to grab some steel plate. Put some in here just in case I decide that I want to place some down. I probably shouldn't need to, but maybe I will. Initially I was thinking I should start placing the bridges, but I shouldn't actually do that until I get to the point where the bridge would start, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to line my drill rig up properly with exactly where that grid is. So I want to first do the drilling, then do the bridge building. Now that we're lighter, we'll probably turn that down a bit. There we go. Now you can see it rocks a fair bit less. There's going to be some rocking anyway because of the nature of this surface. It's never going to be perfectly smooth. But at least I can stop some of that tilting back and forth. Something I hadn't quite appreciated, and which has worked out quite nicely. Ooh. Oh, cool. This looks very different now that I can kind of make out where I am with all the light. I'm definitely going to want to put some barricades and maybe some sort of shelf of armor out there. But there'll be little things like that I can do along the way. Alright, we're almost at the end of the tunnel. I'm snagged on something. Oof. Camera, stop doing that. That's really unpleasant. No flicker. Flicker bad. Stop the flicker. Rotten thing. Oh, this camera is infuriating. When did they break it again? Ugh. Ah! I can't get the camera to work where I want it. And I can't do this from first person. Can I? Maybe I can. No, because I can't see where the wheels are. Why, game? Why? Why are you being so weird? Oh! Don't be like this. Don't want to have to battle that for 4 kilometers. Oh, there we go. Seems that zooming out a bit helps for some reason. Something else I've been thinking about, which I'm not sure exactly how to approach, is how to make sure that I get the right elevation for the magnesium when I've reached the end. How do I make sure I've been digging with enough of an incline and not too much? What ideally I'd like to try and do is climb up to the height I need relatively quickly, and then once I've done that, try and drive level and drill level the rest of the way. Because in theory that should make it easier to get where I'm trying to get to, and also easier to create a nice path to drive on. I know that sounds sort of counterintuitive, because really what you'd want is a gentle grade the entire way, but the chances of me getting that grade correct are incredibly small. So what I want to do is make sure that I have the correct elevation as soon as I can, and then any further adjustments from there are a lot easier. So while it'll make it a bit more difficult to drive later, it should make it much easier to create in the first place. Plus, it'll be nicer then for driving across bridges and stuff like that, because I'll be coming at those bridges level rather than trying to go from an incline to a level bridge to another incline and trying to make those transitions nice with voxel edits and building grids. It's kind of challenging. It'd be a lot easier if I was coming at those structures on a level plane. That's what have I done? Hang on. Okay. It was only a little outcrop. I was worried I'd gone too far in, and now I've possibly gone a little too sharply out. I'm gonna have to go back and make a bit of a turn here. Made it another 100 meters. That's winning, considering I only made it 70 meters last episode. Let's roll back a bit. I'm going to make turning bays maybe every kilometer, because I think making too many of them will just make my life that much harder. but having some of them will make my life easier. It's almost getting light enough out there for me to take the platform out. And kind of scout this route a bit. I guess what I could do to try and figure out the level I need to get to and how much higher I need to get than where I already am would be to fly to the magnesium deposit, get myself nice and level, and then fly back here. Try and use that as a means to figure out where it is I need to be. Oh yeah, that's gonna look cool when I put a little barricade in this section. Nope, hang on, I'm getting a little bit low on the right there. And, I mean low on the left. I know my lefts and rights. Totally, that should level it off. Yeah, that works really well. Just reversing a little bit with one arm down. Sometimes I wish the edges weren't so craggy so I could go a little bit closer. But sometimes the craggies... Oh, that's scary. Okay, that's going to need something put on it to make that little corner a little safer. But I wish the edges weren't craggy so I could do bits like this where I'm skirting the edge and then build something as a bit of a barrier around it. But I think that's kind of the best I'm going to be able to do to create that sort of feeling. Is this thing, and then coming back here, potentially drilling out more of it, maybe even by hand off this platform or something, and then trying to build a bit of a protective barrier. I mean, I could cut further into the mountain, but that's kind of defeats the purpose. The idea was for this to be a road, not a tunnel. Or a partial tunnel. You know, like real world mountain roads often are. Cutting in and out of the landscape, sometimes on the surface, sometimes in tunnels. Oh, I just had a cool thought for this tunnel when it's done. Yes. Yes, I want to do this. I so want to do this. In the real world, there are mountain climb races. I think I want to do a race and see how quickly someone could drive up this roadway when it's done. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Look at where I am. Oh, that looks amazing. This road is going to look seriously intimidating when you've actually got light on it. Oh, cool. Also, I have almost made it I've made it like 360 meters. This may take just a few weeks after all. Really shouldn't be something I'm impressed about, I guess. A few weeks is still a long time to build something. Although I am not counting on how long it's going to take me to build bridges. And I do want there to be bridges. So that's part of what makes it look cool. Huh. Turning around isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Hopefully I haven't made this a nightmare to drill through when I come back, but I don't think I would have. Just thought, I've made it about 500 meters. I was going to try and do it every kilometer or so, but 500 meters might be far enough for me to have a turning point. Because it's almost light on this side of the mountain now, which means it's time for me to go get this platform. And I would like to drive back going forward rather than in reverse. Get a bit of a feel for how well this road actually works. Which is a bit harder when I'm in reverse because I'm not sure how much of it's difficult because of the being in reverse and how much of it's difficult because of the road. Oh, this was the tight bit. I might try and see if I can just widen this a little. Hopefully without ruining the road surface. In fact, let's lift this one up a bit higher just to ensure it's not the one that's getting cut. Because I just want to cut into this right-hand side there. I'll still build this section wider with a bit of a platform, but at least for the time being it should be safer to drive. How's that look? Yeah, that's alright. So thinking of this being a race, I'm obviously talking about a time trial. It wouldn't be people having to pass, because I don't think that'd be possible. But definitely you could do a time trial race on this sort of mountain road, which would be pretty fun. Alright, we're back. Guess I could just take this platform from here, actually. Yeah, let's do that. Merge blocks off. Batteries off recharge. Thrusters on. Dampeners on. That would help too. I thought I was getting magnetic. I thought I had some magnetic pull dragging me down, but it was gravity. Oh, camera. You are annoying. Go through the tunnel. Because I unfortunately blocked my other way out. There you go. That's better. Ow! Dang it! So I've made it all this way, and then... Still a bit further. To here. Right. So if I put myself basically level to the horizon, and I lower my camera, I'm almost at the right elevation for the magnesium mine. That's nice. So where can I have a bridge? That's what I want a GPS marker for. I want somewhere that kind of turns in so I can cut the corner a bit, like I'm doing with some of the little tunnels. And none of this seems... Oh, actually, yeah, maybe... Ooh, okay. My thrusters are working pretty hard to keep me up here. But maybe if I went and just did a sort of a mini bridge from here to that next section over there. So, slash GPS bridge start, then straight across to about here. We start with that as a bridge, then we go further. And then I reckon there's going to be another section here that'll work well for bridging. With, yeah, somewhere in there I reckon I can get another one if this one works out. I won't do many of them if the first one ends up being super difficult. Come around here. I'm obviously not going to bridge 2.6 Ks. That's excessive, even for me. There might be some opportunity here. I'm not going to mark any bridges out through here unless it's like a really good spot. I'm kind of wondering whether if you look just in front of the cockpit there's a bit of snow. That might be a bit to bridge to. And maybe make a little rest stop there. Even though it's quite near the magnesium mine, but it'd be kind of a cool surface spot to rest on because it's got more interest than just stone. Gotta have a few bridges. Gotta have some points of interest along the rather long journey. Ooh, this bit looks like it'll be good. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a bit of a ravine. Nice. Perfect. So I'll be able to have a nice bridge coming from here, maybe straight across, all the way. Set it as a nice high suspension bridge style thing or something along those lines. Bring it across to here, then just continue along. All the way to here. And have a little picnic spot. With an epic view of the gas giant. Yeah, alright, I'm happy with this as planned. Can take this back, can keep getting some charge. We'll start with that first bridge. I need to drill to where I've marked that bridge starter, and then I can start placing it. I'm going to try and make it so this bridge has a slight incline to it. Ooh, actually, do I want to do that now that I really think about it? Too much of an incline on the bridge will make it look weird when I try and put if I try and put any vertical supports in. That's annoying. Let's put diagonals into the cliffside though. It should be okay. Feels a lot further as I fly back. So it was kind of okay-ish. Oh, this bit needs fixing. I lift these up even more. Smooth that at all? I think I might have. Maybe a little bit. Driven backwards along this. Let's see how driving forwards along this goes. Obviously, I've got my power on my wheels quite low. So I should probably up that a little bit to make this a bit easier. And we're here. Now let's try and get to that bridge start marker. Something I can't wait to do once this road is done is come in here with voxel hands and paint the surface so that the road surface is different to the rest of the drilled away rock. I think that'll be a really nice touch to make this look more real, I guess. Much like I did back at the main base to make things look a bit more interesting and lived in. I'm gonna do similar things here. There might be some small bits of road surface smoothing, but I'm only gonna do that if I've already proven that the road is drivable. If the road's not drivable, and I have to make it drivable in survival first, not after the fact. With not using voxel hands to do that for me. Although I'm honestly not sure how much voxel hands will really help me. I don't quite have Smocky's skill with that. Smocky, who made, I believe, a lot of the roads in the Keen scenarios. And made a lot of the Keen scenarios. Like Lost Colony. Oh, I might have gone a lot higher than where I predicted my bridge start was going to be. I might try and level the road off, which also might give me an easier start to the bridge. In fact, looking at those markers, I'm not even sure I made them horizontally even to each other. I may need to have to come up with another idea of where to do this bridge, because I'm almost directly over the marker. Maybe I could start it here. Just drill right out to the edge. Get myself precarious. Oh, no. Must be able to see. Do not do this if blind. You know what? This is all pretty straight. I don't know that this is as good a spot for a bridge as I imagined. I'll just keep going and see if I spot anywhere, since apparently what I saw from this platform was not correct. Although, maybe it is. I could head straight for that very outer edge there. What I'm going to need to do to make that feasible, though, is drill in along here. Far enough that I've got the full road width. This is a dangerous place to be working. Okay, that's a turning bay. So quite clearly these bridges are not necessary. I could just tunnel my whole way through, but that was never the plan. The plan was always to do something a little bit crazy along the way. Yeah, that works. I've turned around. Now, I kind of want this here, but I kind of don't want this here. My idea, if I can make it work, is to kind of go from here directly to where my welder tip is pointing. So just thread that and just perfectly line that up. So I'll load up this platform with some interior plate and some steel plate and go and use the cockpit build method for making most of the bridgeway. The initial block, though, I think I'm going to need to place by hand, which means I really should have brought some steel plate up with me because I could have placed it already. Thanks to this platform and building from the cockpit, it shouldn't be too hard to build these bridges. Potentially dangerous every time I try and weld parts of it up, but still not difficult. As long as I always end up landing on the platform instead of falling off, I should be fine. But if I fall off, I'm dead, and so probably is this platform, because the chances of me getting back to my base after respawning at the survival kit, running all the way there, and getting control of this platform before it runs out of power, pretty low. Not going to carry too much with me at the beginning, because this is not the most efficient way to get all that stuff there. The roadway itself I should be able to weld up by hand, carrying stuff with the rock lobster. Disconnect, recharge off, dampeners on, thrusters on. Let's go. Oh, this is going to look cool once I've put little bits and pieces in various spots along this roadway so that you can see it more clearly than just it being cut out of the voxel. So what I need to do with this first block is try and line it... I'm going to have to do this but in first person on the ground. I can't do this from here. Just realized this platform's too big. What I was going to say, though, is I need to try and line this up so that it's going to go straight to where I need, like, try and line it up perfectly. I think that's going to be about right. A little bit over. Then I just got to get it lined up with the surface of the roadway. That's going to be a challenge. Drill this out. This is how I normally get blocks placed at the correct height. Give myself a little bit of a ditch. Yeah, that's good. There we go. Now I have to decide how I'm going to actually make this bridge. What's the style going to be? I Thinking maybe I'll do a full block height roadway for this first one, rather than using the plate, and then underneath that, maybe a row of girders. Now, I am high up enough that the thrusters are not doing a great job on this platform. Quite drifty. Oh. Running out of O2. Forgot I turned off the vent on this one to save power. Hello, Cubiculus. You stay away from me, please. This hasn't ended up sticking out terribly far from the cliff, but I think it's a good testing ground for my techniques here. Techniques like how I transition onto a roadway like this and how I transition back off a roadway like this in ways that are going to be easy to drive on, but also reasonably easily buildable. Okay. That's sort of a kind of bridge. It's a suspended roadway at the very least that will provide a bit of extra variation in how I traverse my way up here. I'm going to build supports out of beam blocks, I think, that just go straight back into the mountain. Something I'm going to have to decide is whether the safety of the bridge itself is more important or the safety of me driving on the bridge is more important. Because if the safety of the bridge is more important, then I would not add lights to the bridge, because then it needs power and then it becomes a target. If the safety of the driving is more important, then I add lights, which means I need power, which means I'll need to have turrets, which means all of those sorts of things on each bridge to try and protect the bridges themselves from getting attacked. Because they will get attacked if I have power on them and they're not protected. Or I'll still probably get attacked even if they're protected, but hopefully with some protection they won't get completely annihilated. There we go. We have the start of a bridge. I'm going to have some fun drilling to get that surface drivable. Time to bring the rock lobster back up here so I can weld this up. Huh, I just realized as the cobalt marker popped up, I forgot to get rid of my very temporary ore detector on this thing. Goodbye, temporary ore detector. Get the lobster into a better spot for loading up steel plate, since that's all I need to bring. Steel plate that I had just previously offloaded. I don't think I'm going to have anywhere near enough plate. Bring some construction components too so I can build a barricade. The little handrails. Oh, it's getting dark again. The sun really does not hang around here very long. I think I'm going to want to go with lights on the bridge rather than bridge kept safe. Given that there's a pretty good chance I'm going to be driving this road in the dark more often than not. Should probably get rid of those bridge start and bridge end markers now that I've built the suspended road. These drills are messing with my perception. I keep feeling like I'm leaning to the right because of them being offset like this. I think I'm almost there. Should have brought enough for a battery. Okay, here we go. Now, how to start this thing. And how wide to make it as well. I think it needs to go... Yeah, it needs to go that extra block inward. We're going to extend the pistons this time. Push them out far enough, hopefully. Ooh. Nope. I see that bit of voxel that they got stuck on. We drill out. It should be just below the surface of the plate. Because then I'll be able to place the other blocks. Okay. That's another thing to keep in mind. I need to enter this thing from close in. Or there's a very real chance I will jump out of the lobster and end up falling to my death. Oy. There we go. That's our transition. Now it's just a matter of drilling all the way out there. Extend the pistons further in front of me so I've got an easier way to build so that I can reach out over the abyss further. That's what I was kind of thinking. Obviously, in Space Engineers, there's no justification for picking this particular spot to build a bridge. It doesn't really save me much time. In fact, it's going to take a lot longer to build than the roadway. But in the real world, you could imagine there might be some sort of geological feature, perhaps a tougher stone that would have been too expensive to drill through, that sort of thing, to cause you to have this little deviation in how your road's built at this particular point. which is kind of why I've decided to do this, because then it makes it feel more like a real road. And it would have been just boring driving every time. Back and forth along a road that is the same the whole way, in just pink dirt. Oh, pink rock. Ugh. Look at that. That's a view. That is a stunning view. So glad I put this gas giant in this world, even though I haven't been to it, and I thought I would have by this point in the series. It's been such an awesome backdrop. Okay, now I have to be a bit more exact. Need this to start lifting a little bit higher than the roadway to allow the smooth transition from plate to ground, plate to voxel. That is perfect. Can't believe how well that worked out. That's just smooth. Look at that. That I'm gonna have to fix, but the rest of this, I'm ecstatic. That's no other way to put it. This is working so much better than I'd anticipated. I was expecting a lot more of a challenge in working out this transition and ending up dragging the bridge 10 times further, but that was first pass. Huh. For this bridge I can do it, but for the other bridge probably won't work. I just had a thought about the lights. They wouldn't necessarily have to be attached to this grid. I could put batteries in the wall and just put lights on them sticking outward. That would potentially allow me to have an inert grid that shouldn't get targeted as the bridge surface. It's not going to work for the longer bridge unless I put like spotlights at one end. And that's how I light it up, which might look a bit weird. So I'll have to come up with a different solution there, but it might work here. Suspect I won't bother doing that though. So that's a lot more batteries to build. Unless I build that light placing machine and build them all in small grid, printing them off as I go. And I'm almost out of steel plate. Figured this edge block made the most sense to place down and weld up first. And that's all my steel plate. So that was about 1,200 or so. So I'm going to need another 3,600-ish steel plate to finish this bridge. I'm going to keep calling it a bridge because I can't think of what else it's supposed to be called, and it kind of is a bridge. It's just attached on 3 sides instead of 2. I'm not set on this surface being battered. I might even make the road surface concrete. Textured. In fact, let's do that. Where's the cement? Concrete armor. Okay. Yeah, I think that's going to work best. And now for handrails. Gotta have safety rails. Ah, should I be making this out of railing? Or should I make it out of these with hazard armor? Might do the railing, and then if I wanted to later, I could add the hazard on the other side of the railing, on the outside, which could be interesting to look at least for parts. Because I was also thinking maybe building something over the top that attaches on the outside. Sort of like a rockfall prevention sort of thing. Come on, drill that corner. There we go. Just wanted to smooth that a little bit. That's better. Okay, there's that bit fixed. I think with that done, pretty sorted. This turning bay is not ideal, but I should be able to fix it in a second. If I come back here and then oh, that's a bit steeper than I wanted it to be. Oh, that'll be fixable with some steel plate. Yeah, we have a turning bay. Drop them a bit further than I intended. I think what I'll do is I will go back and grab a full load of steel plate in the rock lobster and come back up here, weld this, and then continue my roadway. Weld it with however much I can carry back. So that's all the way home to home base, I guess. I think when I build the proper big bridge, I will make sure I have a hauling vehicle that's capable of carrying a lot more than just 2 cargo containers worth of steel plate. So I think the proper bridge is going to be considerably more expensive to build than this first one. And if I build it right, it should also be capable of being the magnesium hauler. So I don't need to take the rock lobster back to base at all. Oh, maybe that spot I was talking about potentially having as a picnic spot could be the spot where the rock lobster parks. And that's where I can load up with the other hauler. Yeah. I think that could work quite nicely. Should probably build a connector here so that I can hook up and load up where I am. How heavy am I with those 2,000 plates on board? 80 tons. That might be all I want to take, actually. Oh, I kind of want to just take a little bit more just to make sure I've got enough to finish the road surface of the bridge. Alright, that'll do. 2,500. Don't want to be too heavy that I can't get back up the hill, because that'll be even more annoying than I'm going to come all the way back here. I think I need to make this road surface a lot less white. Right now it looks more like plaster than concrete. Or at least very sun-bleached concrete, which, not here. Once I've welded up more of it, I think I'll try out some different greys and see which ones look best. Alright, that's out of steel plate. Time to go back to the main base for another load. But I won't need to bring it all the way up here. I'll be able to drop off, I reckon, about 1,000. or so back at Steve's hole in the wall. Well, that'd be my headless body. Yeah, that's a bit grayer. It's really hard to tell in the lights of the truck and my own helmet lights exactly how dark this is. I'm afraid I took too many plates out. No, I think I've taken too many steel plates out of the truck when I was going past Steve's hole in the wall. I did take about 250 too many out. Still, it's pretty close to finished. At least the road surface. There's a whole lot of decorative stuff I want to do on this bridge still. So close, yet so far. So for those of you out there crazy enough to want to do this yourselves, the thing that I've found with this mining style, well, the thing that I found with this style of miner is that once I start tilting one way or the other, what I do is I adjust, depending on whether I'm happy with my pitch or not, that side up or down, drill forward about the length of the vehicle, and then readjust to neutral. And that's usually enough distance to get me level without tipping back the other way. So it's kind of that whole thing with driving a car. It's make minor corrections. Don't do anything drastic. If you do something drastic, chances are you'll overcorrect and you'll end up in trouble. And so it takes a lot of patience to make sure that you don't end up overcorrecting anywhere. Let's see, is this another? No, that's not far at all. Wow, it looks so lonely when you do this. Just this tiny little speck and this giant cliff face. It's quite cool. I've been trying to think about what I want to do with the rest of today's recording. Whether I want to keep working on the bridge, whether I want to keep drilling ahead. And I think I'm going to work on the bridge. I like the idea of having it a little bit more complete before I go on and do more of the build. And looking at the design, I have an idea about what I can do. So you can kind of see if I move a bit further forward and take advantage of those interior lights. What I've done is I've spaced those support beams out every 3 blocks. And what I'm thinking of doing is for the first few of them, maybe just the first 3, I'm going to continue that support frame all the way up over the roadway and into the mountain on the other side. Then I'll leave this middle section open and then I'll do the same at the other end. And at each end between those support beams, I'm going to put catwalk because it'll look like netting designed to catch rockfalls. And I think that'll kind of look... I think it'll look good. I think it'll add some extra detail and add some extra interest to this bridge. Because from on top, it's real boring. It is just a flat concrete surface with some railings. Which is a bit meh. So I think that'll be a good start to making this look like something that's a bit more interesting. Which means I need to drive back to the main base and go and collect a whole bunch more stuff so that I can do that building and then come back here and actually build it. Although, maybe I don't. Actually, no. I just need to go back down and grab the splat form and then come back up here and place a bunch of that stuff. And I reckon next week what I'll start off with, before I even do any drilling, or maybe I'll do a bit of drilling, then do this, is some of these edging bits around here. I might play around with some designs in creative and see what I can come up with that's going to look interesting without being too hard to build. I'd like to build some extra support columns and stuff like that as well to make these sections without any rock on the left look a bit better supported as well. Because I think, especially when I've been flying past in this platform, the roadway doesn't look terribly interesting from the outside. And I'd like it to look a bit more interesting from that perspective as well. Does mean this whole project takes a whole lot longer because I'm trying to do all of that design stuff, but be totally worth it in the end when driving along here. And back. How much plate do I have? Do I want to go back to the main base? Okay, I've got about 1,000. That should be enough. Not sure what materials I want for what I'm building. I think it's just, at least for just placing them down, all I need is the construction components and steel plate. Ready, let's do this. Hopefully I can get... Oh, I don't think I can. Let's try and make it so I can actually climb onto this platform in its parking spot. See if that works. Should be right. Excellent. Now I can get in from the correct position and less risk. Oh, I'm too heavy. Okay. Gonna have to lose some of those materials. That is good to discover here. So the thought I had, if I go Control G, grab that. Oh dear. Okay, pressing down is a problem. So I'm slowing down very, very slowly. Oh wow, okay, this is quite the problem. I am really only just barely slowing down right now. Wow. And now we slowly go back up. I really need to offload some of this weight, so if I place down these beam blocks quickly, they're going to be the heaviest part. Hopefully allow me to actually control this thing. This is good to know. I cannot make use of the cargo capacity on it. And also, when I'm this close to full, I do not want to press down at all. So I was thinking of using... where is it? That's the block to start with. Because of the shape of the block I used on the edge. We don't want this in... No. Oh, no. That's right. Can't change colors, texture types in here. Alright. This is the first time this is happening. P. We are going with... I think battered is the right choice here. So there'll be one there. I was thinking, come along here, 3 blocks, do the same thing. Right up until the end of the bridge bit. And then the stuff I was talking about earlier about potentially using the warning pattern stuff, I could use in between with the railings kind of set up against them for handrails, which I think could work reasonably well. Kind of want to put another post, another kind of support pillar out here. Can't seem to get this thing to place where I want it. Yeah, I think this will work. I think this will work. I'm so glad we got the beam blocks for this sort of build. I'm going to do this out of armor, just never quite gave the level of detail that I wanted for this sort of thing. Now, do I go with... No, that doesn't work. Nuts. Popping out and grinding them. Whoops. Oops-a-daisy. I think instead I'm just going to have to go simple. Have a short slope there, and then the half slope. I was kind of hoping to have a bit more of a softer transition between those two bits, but I think this is all I can do. And maybe if I want to, I could have that there as well. Come on, this platform, go up! Ugh, fine. Alright, I'm going to try and place as much of this as I can from on the ground, because that's just not working. See if I can lighten this load a bit. My next thought was to put these in as the netting to kind of catching rock falls. So if I go 1, 2, 3, then I'll be able to place the other piece without needing this platform at all. I'm taking care to place this on the block above, because then I can place lights pointing downward even though I'll almost certainly put the lights on these beam blocks instead. I think if this was an area prone to rockfalls in the real world, they'd probably have these protections the whole way along. But I think from a style point of view, it's going to look more interesting if I don't. So I'm only going to put them at the ends. Oh man, my turning bay is going to make this look really weird. Okay, I think that's this end basically done. Just going to have to do the bits on the outside with the platform, which will hopefully be able to fly better now that I've used up a few of the resources. If I grab more of the steel plate out and other things and make it a bit lighter. Fingers crossed. Yeah, now I can actually fly a bit. It's much better. Let's have a look at how this appears from outside. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is going to make it look heaps nicer. Give it a lot more interest, even in the interim before I weld all this stuff up. Yeah, I'm much happier with this now that I've got something there. Right, let's do the same down this end, and then I guess I'll bring the rock lobster up here with a bit of stuff. Maybe enough to build a battery and a cargo container, because then I could offload some things that I can put into this platform and use this as a bit of a holding bay for some resources, I guess. Something weird's happening. I can't seem to place stuff on the edges of some of these blocks while in the cockpit placement view. Like this armor piece down here, when I've got the beam block out, I can't, no matter which mode I use, get it to place on that block, which is odd. But it'll place on this block. Maybe. Yep, there we go. Okay. That's really weird. I don't know why that's happening that way. And now I can't place on top of that either. Really bizarre. I genuinely don't know what the problem is there. I'm also getting rather low on power because this is having to expend so much up here. So I'm going to land and just do what I can on foot and then head back. That's not going to be too low, is it? That could be too low. Ugh. What am I going to do if that's too low? I guess I can drill out more of the rock underneath. So it's going to be really hard to figure out how to integrate a higher set into something like having this stepped. The way I've designed this and the way the blocks work in Space Engineers, I'm struggling to come up with any concept that would look alright. Sweet. How far am I? Ooh. This is going to be an interesting challenge. I'm going to go grab the rock lobster and I'm going to see how I go trying to transition between the new surface that I'm going to have to drill so that I can fit cleanly under this brace here and the existing road that's actually goes a fair way up this path. Because that's a challenge that I think a few people in the comments might have mentioned is going to be one of the more difficult parts of making this work. Is once you start digging a new road, can you make it transition to the old one without having to dig the whole way down? And I'm hopeful that I can. But I guess we'll find out. I'm also not sure how I feel about that going down that far. Kind of want it to blend in before then, so I have to fix that. But hopefully I'll just be able to place this at least. Yep. 9 minutes of power, we're still okay. Yeah. Now I'll be able to place lights at each end on those little supports. I might try and come up with some idea between now and next time of how I can put some little lamp posts along the edge here. Some sort of design that might look alright with that. Perhaps what I should do is make supports out of these blocks that line up with the other bracing supports, and then I could put even interior pillars might be okay because they'll only stick out a little bit beyond that half width of a block. Something like that anyway, and then put lights on it. The other thing I'm going to have to figure out for next time along with those lights is where the wind turbines are going to look decent on that bridge and where I'm going to put the battery, all that sort of stuff. Because I'm going to need to have all of that equipment on the bridge for allowing the power. Oh, that was close. For having enough power for all the lights. And I'm also going to have to add more wind turbines to Steve's hole in the wall. So I need to have enough power that I can regularly use this platform, and clearly I don't have enough. Which really doesn't surprise me. 2 was never going to be enough. I hadn't actually realized before, but driving along this road, I am driving at sprinting speed. Even when it feels like I'm going relatively fast. So, it's going to be a long trip. What am I snagged on? It's going to be a long trip each time I'm trying to bring back a load of magnesium. So I can't think of that many times where on foot I have moved the engineer 4Ks each way. Need to make sure that I'm carrying a lot each time so that I don't have to make the trip too often. Although, with how much work I'm going to put into the bridges and stuff, maybe I do want to take it. Or maybe that's an advantage of taking it slow. I get to see more of it. Enjoy the journey. First question, is the new bit too low? I think we're about to find out. The answer is technically no, but that's a little too close. Alright, I'm going to try and drill this road surface out and hopefully be able to merge back to the other bit. Get to about there. Okay, that's a little bit of surface. This is really hard with these beams in the way to get an angle so I can see what I'm doing. And just keep carving this until I get past the support and see how much of a transition I can do to make it smooth onto the rest of the road. I think that's pretty good. Yeah. In fact, if I go a bit further with it, I think it'll almost transition smoother than that. Seems to me the key to getting these roads drivable, and at least as smooth as the rough bits on Mars, is just trying to take it really carefully. Take as little off as you can get away with each time, and just do it repeatedly, and you should end up with a surface that's as good as you can get in Space Engineers without using voxel hands. So it all comes down to patience. Yeah, that's just as smooth as it was originally. In fact, it's better than it was originally. And I'm happy with that level of clearance. That looks much more comfortable. So let's finish welding off this road surface. I think it's going to look a lot nicer on this bridge once I can get these railings welded up and they can be in yellow. So there's a bit of color and a bit of variability. I think adding the lights in is going to give it a lot more interest as well. Well, there we go. I've mined, I think, more than 1 kilometer toward my target, so that's 1/4 of it done. I think without the bridge, I would have been able to make it nearly halfway. So I'd be estimating 3 more weeks, and we'll have a really nice, interesting looking road built all the way to the magnesium mine. That sounds like a lot. Hopefully there'll be enough going on for it to be that long. Otherwise, I'm just going to be doing a lot of time lapses. Which isn't so bad. So next time, I'm going to try and do a bit more of the detail work on the way up here. I'm going to drill a whole lot more of the way there. I am going to decide whether it'll just be 2 bridges or whether there'll be a 3rd. And perhaps get to some work on Steve's hole in the wall. So there's all that and plenty more to come. And I will see you then.